Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another Walking Dead Daryl Dixon video. So here's my breakdown of the episode 3 trailer, and all the footage that we got here is entirely episode 3. So don't have to worry about it being like episode 4 or 5 or 6, because I know last week we got a very general trailer of stuff, just of what to expect for the upcoming season. This is all episode 3 stuff here, so this is really exciting. We can talk about everything shown here. So before we go any further, obviously make sure to be a subscriber if you want to get all my Walking Dead content like this. So I posted my review for episode 2. Really great episode. It seems like a lot of people are really liking this show, and I really am, like, honestly, I'm super happy about that, because I've seen some people say that episode 2 was kind of filler, and I think that's just one of those things where I don't understand people's definitions of filler. I think some people think that filler just means that nothing exciting happened, but that's not really the case at all. Like, if an episode is filler, if there's anything that is filler at all, it's just random stuff that does not matter. Everything that happened in episode 2 really mattered to the story. It's a part of the story. It's a part of the journey and a part of everything here. So that's why, for me, I really liked episode 2. Episode 1 and 2 to me are both phenomenal episodes. This show has really started, or the series, I guess, has really got off to a very strong start. And I really can't wait for episode 3, because this episode looks insane. So definitely make sure to be a subscriber if you do want to get all my Walking Dead content like this, and also go follow me on Twitch if you do want to see me play some more Walking Dead games and all of that. My channel name is Appetite for the Dead. The link is in the description of this video, but let's talk about episode 3 here. So episode 3, it starts off and we do see, it seems like they're actually in Paris. It actually seems like they get to Paris in this episode, and it's a little shocking, I will say, just in terms of pacing and whatnot, but I think it also works because, again, it's 6 episodes, so you do need to give us a little bit more here. And this is one of the things that I think a lot of people can ignore, because, I mean, first of all, I don't know, like, I guess where they started, I believe how you pronounce it is Marseille, right? I know I pronounced that, or I pronounced it wrong in a recent video, and some people were correcting me saying that it was actually pronounced Marseille. So if I'm saying it right now, based off of just sort of looking it up online, it seems like the distance from Marseille to Paris, at least if you're on foot, is, like it says, 172 hours, which is roughly like a week. So it would take them a week to actually travel there on foot from where they were at the Abbey and all that, roughly, to get to Paris, right? So to me, when I see that, I think it's not that unrealistic, especially if, they had another means of traveling. I mean, they were also on that carriage with the horse, right? And via bike, it does take like 45 hours or something like that. So I think, up to a week of travel makes a lot of sense. There's going to be some stuff that we're not seeing in terms of, them traveling, that they spent the night somewhere or whatever, right? Like, I think it makes sense. They've been traveling for a little bit already. So I think it makes sense that it would take them overall, this amount of time. And I think to not see all of that is honestly perfectly fine, because I think most of the drama, most of the story is going to take place in Paris, right? And they are also trying to get past Paris as well, because Daryl wants to go to the port, right? Like in episode 1, we saw Le Havre, France or whatever, and that's where he's actually trying to go. Madame Genet and everyone else is there. So there's going to be a lot of interesting stuff that happens, I think, as we get closer and closer to there, because I think once Daryl gets to the port, Madame Genet is going to be there, right? Or maybe she's somewhere else. Again, in terms of the traveling and on all that, I feel like some of that stuff you do kind of have to ignore a little bit more, because as long as they're getting to the point of the story and it doesn't feel like things are being rushed, I think it's fine. And so far, I think it hasn't felt rushed. And I think in terms of pacing, they're doing everything really well, So I don't really have any complaints about it at all. I really don't. I think it makes a lot of sense. And so episode 3 seems to focus on them actually arriving to this new place here, and we're going to meet this new character named Falou. And this was sort of my prediction I made like a week or two ago, or maybe after episode 1. I said in episode 2, they're going to meet Lou and I guess all the kids and stuff and whatever, and we got all that. Then in episode 3, we're going to meet Falou and I guess learn more about his place, because I don't know what this place is all about, but he seems to be a member of the Resistance Network, which is really interesting, because obviously like they knew that they were going to go see him, right? So they knew, obviously the Abbey did have a plan, like they knew who their allies were overall, so obviously this is a part of the plan coming here, so we'll have to wait and see what happens here overall. But it does seem like, I will say, that at the end of this episode, that they might actually get split up, and it's because of Caudron. And I have a feeling that Caudron is actually going to show up at the end of episode 3 at some point, and they're going to get separated. And I think Daryl and Laurent will probably be separated and go their own separate ways or whatever. And then we'll see, I guess, in episode 4, Isabel and Sylvie, I guess, on their own as well. Like, it kind of seems like in 3, they're going to be all together. They'll go to see Falou, and Caudron is going to show up at the end, and then they're going to be split up. And then I do think they will be basically split up, I think, until episode 5 or 6. I feel like episode 4 is going to focus on Daryl and Laurent being on their own, traveling to whatever. I think we'll see some stuff where, you know, there's a lot of scenes of Laurent being stuck somewhere, and he was like praying because he's about to be attacked by walkers, and Daryl's trapped somewhere. So I think some stuff there could happen. I think at the end of episode 4, though, Daryl is going to get captured, and it's going to be a sort of cliffhanger for episode 5 where he's interrogated and all of that. And then I think there could be a lot of really cool stuff that happens in episode 5, because obviously there's variant walkers and all of that, and we'll see what happens there. And then in 6, obviously, is the final episode. Things will sort of end, and then Carol, I'm expecting, will show up. Like, for me, I feel like she's gonna show up in a post-credit scene. Maybe it doesn't happen. Maybe it just ends and it's just sort of its own thing. But because we know she's gonna be in season 2, because it's already been confirmed that we are getting a season 2, it's like, I don't know. I feel like showing her just sort of arriving to France or whatever is something that you could easily do to hype up, you know, a season 2. So that's kind of what I'm predicting right now, but obviously we'll have to wait and see. But we do see Caudron show up here, and there's also some scenes of the variant walkers as well. And so this shows us that we are going to be getting the variant walkers in episode 3, and I'm guessing that we're just going to see a bunch of experiments and all that. Like, I don't think we're going to see them in action that much, but I think we're going to see, I guess, a little bit more, right? Because episode 1 sort of teased some of this, more so in the trailer, I would say. Like, in the trailer, we saw some of that in terms of just variants on the show. There was references to experiments and all that, but overall, we just kind of saw the burners, which it does seem like the burners are also going to be making a comeback in episode 3. So, you know, we'll see some of that. The experiments, I mean, I'm really interested in some of the dialogue, and if we're going to learn as to what's happening, why are they doing this? You know, just anything like that, I think would be really cool. But we'll have to wait and see, but we are getting them in episode 3. Because there's also a scene of some walkers actually like breaking through the window and falling down. And the walkers seem a lot more aggressive than just like your typical walkers. It doesn't seem like they were just kind of walking towards the window and then they just accidentally fell out because they heard people were around, right? Like, it seems like these walkers are a little bit more aggressive, and they were just like forcing their way through the window, and the window smashed and they fell through. That's what it seems like to me. So I actually think we're going to be getting both variants in episode 3, and they'll probably just take them out really easily. Like, there might be some struggle or whatever, but I think it's going to be one of those things where it's a mystery, like, what's happening here, right? Like, Daryl might take out the walkers and be like, that was different. Like, what's that kind of thing, right? There is a lot of mention here of, you know, Laurent, obviously, just sort of, he wants to know more about who he is. And I think Daryl is trying to tell Isabel, like, you should just really tell him, like, just tell him more about, you know, just kind of explain everything to him. And I think that Isabel at some point needs to. I wonder if, again, I'll do a video later on tonight and I'll talk about this a little bit more in depth. Like, for these videos here, they have to be a little bit more general because I don't really want to spoil anything until the episode's released. So once the episode is out and whatever, I'll release the video, and I will talk about, you know, can we trust Isabel? Is there stuff here that she's not telling us? Because we don't really know where we're going specifically. Obviously, Daryl is just sort of following along because he just wants to get to this place so that he can go and get a ship and, you know, somehow get back home to America, or I guess to the Commonwealth, right? So I think in terms of, I guess, where they're going, it's hard to say what Isabel is thinking and whatnot overall, because I don't really understand everything there. Like, they can go to this place and then there's absolutely nothing there, or, you know what I mean? Like, I don't really understand the whole purpose here. And so that's one of those things where I feel like there's going to be a lot of disappointment, or there's going to be big reveals and stuff about just what is happening here, right? Because obviously this place isn't going to be this magical place or whatever, because there's a season 2, there's other drama and all that. So something happens. And so I'm just kind of wondering, like, is she trustworthy? Yeah, I have a lot of questions. We do have scenes at this nightclub. So this nightclub is actually going to be a very big part of the episode. And we're actually going to see the return of the new character, Quinn. Quinn was introduced in episode 2. It seems like he has a connection with Isabel, and I don't know their whole backstory. I don't know, just sort of, like, well, obviously we saw some stuff in episode 2, but I don't know what their connection was and whatnot. But it looks like, obviously they're going to run into each other here. And I mean, we saw in episode 2 that he seemed pretty upset, kind of shocked that Isabel just took the car and she left with her sister Lily. So, I mean, I wonder if he's going to be upset about that here in episode 3. He's supposed to be like kind of a main character. Like, I know when they announced the casting for Daryl Dixon, I think the first 2 characters that were announced were Quinn and Isabel. And they were described as like regulars, or it was like they're like main characters, whatever, that were going to be main characters alongside Daryl or Norman Reedus. And we haven't really seen them yet, obviously, until episode 2, but a lot of that was flashbacks. And so episode 3, I guess we're going to see him there, and he's like the leader, or he's the owner of this nightclub here, and he has a lot of connections, I guess, to higher ups and all of that. So my prediction, and I know in the trailer we see Daryl punch Quinn, I think, so I actually think what's going to happen here is Quinn's going to be a villain. I think he's going to get word of, just people are looking for Daryl Dixon. I think Madame Genet, obviously we saw at the end of episode 1, they're looking for Daryl Dixon at this point, right? So I think because of Quinn's connections to a lot of the higher ups and all that, he's going to get word that they're looking for this person. I believe this nightclub is going to be a very popular nightclub, and a lot of people, are here a lot. And I think once they hear that someone named Daryl Dixon is here, he's going to be like, all right, well, and I think that's where Cadron and a lot of his forces and stuff will show up. So this episode, honestly, is going to be a really insane episode. I think this episode is going to be, I mean, the run times have been really good. Like, they've been basically an hour per episode. So I think episode 3 is going to be about an hour. We're going to meet Falou and his group, obviously, in this episode, but there's also going to be some nightclub stuff here. And this is where I think a lot of, our characters getting separated could happen, because I think Cadron's going to show up, and then a bunch of mayhem's going to start, and there's going to be a lot of fighting and all of that. And yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. I really can't wait to see all that, because there's going to be variant walkers too. So really cool. Honestly, I'm so excited here. And the final shot here with Isabel and Daryl is interesting, because she kind of says, we were broken until the world fell apart, or whatever she says there. I'm paraphrasing, but it was something like that. And, it is very, very interesting, because it is something that I really do like about Daryl and Isabel, is the fact that before the world fell apart, there was a lot of stuff that obviously they had a lot of stresses. They had a lot of, just horrible things going on in their lives, and the world fell apart, and they all of a sudden it was like, okay, we can actually survive and do a lot better now. It's an interesting dynamic with the characters. It really is. It's Isabel is really becoming a fan favorite for me, and it's just a lot of her backstory, and it could be the actress as well. She's really, really great in the role, but she feels like a genuine character. And I want to learn a lot more about Sylvie, because she's with the group, but she hasn't really been a big part of the story. I mean, I get it, because you can't do everything immediately. It's been 2 episodes, right? Like, we still have 4 more to go. So there's probably going to be, stuff in episode 4, 5, and 6 where we learn a lot more about Sylvie. But, in terms of all the characters that we have on this show, all really great characters. And Lou, we met Lou in episode 2. And she was a really cool character. Are we going to see her again this season? Probably not. But she was a very interesting character. And it comes down to the writing. They actually wrote the character in a really amazing way. And that's the thing. When you look at The Walking Dead and all the characters that were introduced on that show, a lot of people just didn't like this character or didn't like this person. A lot of it is the writing. It's like casting, but it's also mixed with like writing and stuff. And, Lou as a character could have worked. Like, if she was a part of the main group here, she could have been a really awesome character. It's all about the writing and the casting and all of that, and how that works. And Connie, casting was perfect. The writing for that character, she was just a really great character, and a lot of people connected with her, and she just felt like a very real person, like very relatable. And that's exactly how I described the Daryl Dixon spinoff. Like, I've mentioned it in my review, and I even mentioned it about Dead City. This show, the spinoffs, just the world right now of The Walking Dead feels very, very relatable again. And that's one of those things that earlier on, everything felt so relatable with The Walking Dead, because it felt like we were actually on the journey as well. And with these shows, it's the same exact thing. I will say the only difference between Daryl Dixon and Dead City is that with Dead City, you're focusing on 2 characters. And so it was sort of hard to be like, solely focus on like one person, right, and follow their journey. Whereas with Daryl Dixon, it's a little bit easier because it's just Daryl's the one character, right? Everyone else, like, they're main characters as well, but Daryl, it's his story. You're sort of following the story through him. So it's a little bit easier to like be on that journey, right? Whereas with Dead City, it's like, well, Maggie's here and Negan is over here. Like, which side am I on? And like, you got to focus on both of them, and they're in different places. So it's kind of hard to be on the same journey with them, right? When they're both the two lead characters. So the story's a little bit split up. And yeah, but anyways, episode 3 looks very, very great. I really can't wait to see the Varian Walkers. I can't wait to see the nightclub and the stuff that happens there. It looks like Caudron's going to show up, and obviously he goes after Daryl, so it looks like a lot of stuff's going to happen in this episode. And yeah, I'm really enjoying this show right now. So post all your thoughts down below. Hope you guys all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.